let's quickly run through the steps of strategic change. So determine whether there is the need for the change in the first place. All right, it shouldn't be taken out of fun. The change must happen because there is real need for that particular change. So you need to determine whether you need a change. Perform a stakeholder analysis, and it's flowing from point one. Okay, it's out of the stakeholder analysis that we'll get to know whether we really need a change and who will do what during the change process. All right, build support for change. As we all know, change is not something that people easily want. So if you have the mind of changing something in the organization, you need to get people that will support that. And the next point explains that. You do that by creating change network. So we have sponsors of change, normally those who will propose the change. We have advocates, those who will support the change. Advocate, you know the word, right? Who will speak for the change. And we have the change agents, those who actually make sure that the change comes to pass. All right. So you need to create a change network. You have to prepare a change management plan. So you are changing, but the change doesn't have to be haphazard. It shouldn't be done anyhow. Okay. It must follow some systematic process. So you need a change management plan to be able to undertake strategic change. You have to identify and manage obstacles that may come up in the course of the strategic change, and you have to evaluate the change. The fact that you are changing doesn't mean the change will be successful or that is the right thing to do. So you have to evaluate the change as well. Okay. Right. We move to continuous improvement. When we're discussing strategic change, it came up. Okay. And I told you, we saw that even in stable conditions, you need to improve through what is known as continuous change. Continuous change is incremental and focused on making improvements. It is so important that you always focus on. Already we've identified or explained key success factors. So you have to pay attention to your key success factors and try as much as you can to make incremental improvements to these key success factors so that at any point in time, you'll be on top of your game. All right. So that is that. Wherever you find yourself, even at your workplace right now, whatever role that you're currently playing, you always have to be asking yourself, what else can I do to be able to perform better than what I'm currently doing? It's very, very important. Okay. It should be said that if you were to join this class next year, the way that I'll teach it should be better than what I'm doing today. All right. That is the concept of continuous improvement. So it is usually motivated by a desire to maintain and improve productivity and customer value in day-to-day management. So you don't do the same thing every day. Consistently, you have to be thinking about how to improve upon your services. Okay. The principle is to stick to a consistent business model of an organization's core value creating areas. So we have key performance indicators. You want to stay with them and consistently seek to improve these key performance indicators. Because there is a relationship between your key performance indicators and your business processes. All right. If you take profits, percent of profit increase as key or profits as key performance indicator, there is a relationship between how much profit you made and the value that you are providing to customers. Okay, so if you have the aim of constantly improving, say, sales revenue or profit, that should inform you as to how you should serve your customers. So if you target consistently that I want to increase my profit, of course, you can do other dubious ways, such as selling poor quality product in order to increase your profit, but that is not sustainable. If you want to sustain a key performance indicator such as profitability, then you must continually seek to improve the kind of services or products that you offer to your customers. Are we clear with continuous improvement? Are we
Yes,
fine?
sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And I must just add that strategic management, even though it's largely used in corporations, but you can also use it at a personal level and you'll profit a lot from it. Most of the concepts that we learn now are things that you personally can adapt or operationalize to suit your personal lifestyle, and it will help. Okay, like the concepts, and I'm sure you have continuous improvement. That's why you are on this program anyway. Okay, so in 3 years from now, you shouldn't be the person you are today, because you will have gained some extra knowledge, and that should influence the kind of products that you can offer, the kind of service that you can offer, and so on and so forth. Okay, and that should also influence your salary. And if you get the increases, don't forget the person who taught you strategic money. All right, so there are connections. Okay. Benefits of continuous improvement. One says there is more engaged employees. Once you practice this concept of continuous improvement, employees will be more engaged with their work, because you constantly will be seeking to find new ways to improve upon what you're currently doing. And that will lead to more engagement. You won't just come to work and just walk about and go home, all right? Because you want to find ways to improve upon your service or the things that you do. It will lead to lower employee turnover. There is a correlation. Once people become so engaged with their work, there is the lower likelihood or less likelihood that they will be leaving their job. So once it helps or leads to employee engagement, it could lead to lower employee turnover as well. It can lead to more competitive products and services. I think this is obvious, right? Because continually, employees will always find a way to render better products and services. All right. Next one can lead to better customer service, and it leads to having a proactive learning culture. So if you have the concept of continuous improvement as an individual or as an organization, you'll always be learning, because you want to improve upon what you did the last time. Okay, so it will lead to proactive learning culture in organizations. All right, let's move to another concept, very similar to what we've discussed so far as strategy is concerned, known as competitive strategy. Okay, so it's a strategy that can be described as competitive. And it is competitive because it will help an organization to earn beyond above average profit within its industry, because it will help you to create value that is distinct from what is being offered by competitors. Okay, so competitive strategy, key things we have to note: it helps a company or an organization to earn beyond average profit within an industry. How is that done? Because it helps an organization to create value that is distinct. What it means is that it provides value that is different from what your competitors or the competitors of the organization can offer to their customers. Okay, so if you are building a strategy and you want it to be competitive, the key thing is trying to provide value that is distinct, providing a product that your customers cannot easily get elsewhere. Okay. Then I think strategy by now we should know, but let's pay attention to these concepts, because we've learned about strategic management, we've learned about strategic planning, we've just learned about this, what do you call it? Competitive strategy. And now we're looking at strategy. Okay. So strategy is a method of directing an organization's operations to ensure that its direction and purpose are maintained over time. So a strategy, just like strategic planning, will provide a reference framework so that in whatever decisions that we want to make as an organization, we have to go back and find out whether it is in line with the type of strategy that we're seeking to pursue. Okay, and we said the strategy is basically a direction as to what the company should be doing. So it provides a reference framework. And if you remember at the beginning, we said even your marketing efforts must be in line with your strategy. Your organizational structure must be in line with your strategy. Your organizational culture must be in line with your strategy. So it serves as a guide for every decision that the company must be making. Okay. So there are two perspectives of strategy. You want to gain a position in the external market. All right. So market positioning. You're pursuing a strategy because you don't want to lose out at the marketplace. So the external market positioning is one of the key aspects or perspectives of strategy. Then the second dimension is that you really want to exploit your internal strategic resources in order to maintain that market positioning or develop that market position that you want from the external environment. All right. So once again, it comes from an appreciation of the external environment and an appreciation of your internal environment. It's the external environment that will know the opportunities and how to position yourself well to take advantage of that. The internal environment will help you to know the resources and the strengths that you have and how to leverage on these resources in order to take advantage of the opportunities. And all of this will come as a result of a good strategy. All right. We have levels of strategy. Once again, we touched on this much earlier when we're talking about components of strategic management. So we have corporate strategy. It describes a company's overall direction. And there I was telling you that we have companies that have sub businesses or companies within. I remember mentioning the SPY group of companies or multimedia, where you have several media houses or whatever under that, okay? Even though they are separate, you have Joy FM, you have Love FM, which other ones? Adom, okay? And so on. All of them come together under one ownership or leadership. So they may be separate businesses, but you need what is known as a corporate strategy so that they will all be working towards a particular direction. Okay. From that level, we have what is known as a business strategy. This is where the business is such that it doesn't have other businesses. It's just one business. Okay. So you form a strategy to provide direction for that particular type of business. All right. Then below that, we have functional strategy. Strategies that are meant to direct the functional areas of the business. Okay, so it could be finance, it could be marketing, it could be R&D. Those strategies will be telling these functional areas or directing these functional areas as to what they should be doing at any point in time. Okay, so these are the three main types of strategies. Let's look at the attributes of strategic decisions. For some of them, I've already explained. So point one says they are focused on a systematic, comprehensive examination of the entire organization. This is coming from my explanation of the definition itself, where I was talking about the fact that where we're explaining the fact that strategic management deals with cross-functional decisions, if you remember. And I said in strategic management, it calls for the collaboration of all the functional areas of the business. So it is not just marketing, it is not just about finance, it is not just about production or operations, but in strategy, all of these functional areas or department must work together in order to achieve a particular objective. Okay, so strategic decisions tends to involve a comprehensive examination of the entire organization, not just aspect of it or subset of it. The next one is that they are long-term and forward thinking, but they are founded on knowledge of the past and present. So once again, I told you that once you hear the word strategic, most of the time what comes to mind is long-term perspective, okay? But even though they are long-term and forward thinking, to be able to do those long-term projections, you must have a better understanding of your past and your present. All right. That is why under strategy evaluation, I told you that even when you achieve your objectives, you still have to go and review your past because the assumptions might have changed. The environment might have changed. So it's long-term, but relies on information from the past as well as the present in order to be successful. The other three attributes is that they seek to take advantage of opportunities and minimize threats. I think this is obvious from our discussions all this while. Okay, next one, they involve choices. And I kept on saying that when we talk about strategy, or strategic management is basically about making decisions. You must pick among alternatives, all right? So making choices is one of the core aspects of strategic management. All right, let's move to the theoretical underpinnings of strategic management. So there are theories supporting the positions and the views of strategic management. Okay, we have three of them. We have the industrial organization theory. Some authors put this as industrial organization view. We have resource-based theory, and we have contingency theory. All right, so let's go through them. So we have the industrial organization theory. The core assumption of the IO theory is that in order to survive and grow, a company or corporation must adapt to industry impacts. So the theory is basically saying that the industry within which you are operating can influence your performance as a company. So your success or otherwise could be influenced by what is happening in a particular industry. In other words, as a manager, if you want to manage and be successful, you must pay attention to what is happening to the industry or the environment within which you are operating, because the issues within that particular environment can influence your success or your failure. So industry issues, okay, how the industry is performing, what is going on in the industry can affect your performance. And I think earlier Swansea was talking about this domestic debt exchange program. Okay, and debt restructuring issue. And we can clearly see how it has affected the performance of the banks. So no matter how brilliant and how excellent you were as a bank manager, it was very difficult to be able to forecast that government will ever default or seek to restructure a debt. Okay, it has never happened before. In fact, it was almost unimaginable. When you teach investment management, we normally tell our students that government bonds and whatever treasury bills are risk-free. Okay, when we hear the word risk-free, that's normally what we connect them to. So it was almost impossible for any bank manager to think about that. All right, I'm bringing in that for you to appreciate that what happens in your external environment or in your industry could be an important determinant of how you perform as an organization. That is why when we're learning strategy, emphasis is laid on the external environment, that you need to pay attention to your external environment because a could be posing as a threat or it could be providing you with certain opportunities. That notion, that view is coming from the theory known as the industrial organization. All right. The second theory is known as the resource-based view or resource-based theory. So it supports the idea of strategic managers focusing on the internal environment of a business. What does it say? It argues that organizational performance is primarily determined by a firm's ability to utilize its resources. So unlike the IO theory that is looking external or the industry, resource-based theory is looking internal. Okay, it argues that how well you employ or utilize the resources of your organization is that which determines how well you can perform as a business. Okay, so if we combine these theories together, you can see that IO is looking at the external or industrial environment, if we'll put it that way, whilst resource-based view is looking at the internal environment, which are the resources that you have as an organization. Okay. The resources include both tangible and intangible, such as capital, personnel, knowledge, and information. We have several of them. These are the things, according to this theory, that could give you some edge and help you to be able to perform well. Okay, but the theory highlights the attributes that these resources must have in order to be able to give you any competitive edge and therefore help you to be able to perform better. So it argues that for a resource to be valuable or whatever, give you a competitive advantage, that resource must first and foremost be valuable. All right. The resource must be rare. It must be difficult to duplicate perfectly and without strategically relevant substitutes. The points are very, very related. All right. So the resource must be valuable. If you have an internal resource and that resource is not valuable, what it means is that your competitors or rivals can equally gain access or get access to that type of resource. And therefore, that resource cannot give you any advantage over them. Okay, the same explanation goes for the others. If the resource is not rare, what it means is that your rival or competitor can easily get it. Okay, if it is not even getting the same thing, if they can get a duplicate of that resource, then it cannot give you any advantage. Similar explanation is where they can find a substitute for that particular resource. So basically, this resource should be valuable. For you to get an edge from that particular resource, it must be valuable, it must be rare, it must be difficult to duplicate, and it must be strategically relevant. Okay, it should be such that they cannot find substitute, strategically relevant substitute for that particular resource. So what do you think? What type of resource will fit this? What type of resource or resources in the organization will meet this criteria? Are my people here? Please, are you here?
Yes, sir, I am here.
Yes. So what type of resource will meet this criteria? And why do you think that resource will? Osborne.
No, please come again.
Yes, we've just discussed the attributes according to resource-based theory of view.
I am not hearing you because of my network.
Okay, that's fine. Who can hear me? Swansea, can you hear me?
Yes, please, I can hear you.
Yes. So the resource-based theory says that unlike the OI theory, what organizations or managers must do in order to be successful is to rely on their resources. But it is not any type of resource that can help an organization gain a competitive advantage and therefore become successful. Okay, the theory says for that resource to help an organization to be successful, the resource must be valuable, it must be rare, it must be difficult to duplicate perfectly, and without strategically relevant substitutes. And I'm asking you guys to help me. What type of resource will be able to meet all these requirements? Swansea.
Yes, sir.
You've made me to go over. So answer.
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Yes, I said I've gone over. So explain. What type of resource will meet this requirement?
Wow.
Done.
Can you guess? Just guess and let's go. Yeah.
Doc, let me also guess. Now my network, I think. Can I speak?
Yes, please.
Oh. Some policies and maybe your structures.
Policies, they can easily get your policies. And as for your structure, it will be online. Your organizational structure or chart will be online. Yes. Apia could be any guess. Idrisu, you want to talk?
No, sir, I think it's me.
No, please.
Sir, I want to say experience.
Who is talking?
Experience. Frederick.
Frederick, what do you mean by experience?
Sir, we are guessing.
Explain. I'm not telling you to change. I just want to explain your guess.
I'm saying this because employees with high level of experience is very valuable and real and very difficult to duplicate in an organization. Let's say someone with 20 years working experience in a certain field in the organization. Maybe sometimes if
Loudly, please.
Well, I think it's where I am in the network as well.
Mm-hmm.
Please, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Doctor, what about?
No, please, somebody is on the floor. Okay. Somebody is on the floor.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
I was talking about experience.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take the network communication industry, for example. We have someone who has worked in the industry for like say over 20 years. He knows the in and out of the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have such a person in your organization, it's very difficult for other companies to get that person's experiences and initiatives in your organization. That's what I was saying, experience.
Beautiful. And you were right. So I didn't just want it to be a guess. I wanted you to demonstrate that you knew what you were talking about.
Oh, okay.
So largely, this criteria, it is normally the human resources or human capital in the organization that can meet this requirement. All right. If you talk about any technology, once it is money that is required to be able to get that technology, your rival can go and get money and buy. Even if it's a loan, they can go and get a loan and buy it. All right. If the structure, as I said, the structure is available on the company website.
Okay,
Idris, please, you have to mute your distance.
Okay.
Doctor,
Yes.
I want to ask one question.
Yeah. You may.
Can we classify your trademarks under this resource-based theory?
Beautiful. So they likely, especially if they give you some extensive number of years of monopoly in a particular market, right? If you take the pharmaceutical industries, sometimes because of the investment that goes on to be able to come out with a particular drug, okay, there will be a law to protect you. For the next 20 or 50 years, you are the only person who can manufacture that particular drug. And that becomes an important whatever for you. All right?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
trademark, it depends on the value, or brand name. It depends on the value it brings on board. But for it to be able to keep to that brand or mark, it boils down to your employees. All right? It is not,
yes, sir.
It's not really, the branding becomes important only because some people have worked hard to give it that particular image.
Okay, sir.
With poor performance, the same brand, trademark, and brand name will actually fall and be worthless.
Okay, sir.
So beyond having some legal protection, as I've said, some monopolistic rights, largely it is human resource that will fall under this category.
Okay, sir.
As Frederick explained, yeah, you may employ another human being, but in fact, they are not the same. If you go to, in fact, I think the industry, football explains it better. All right. The window just closed recently, right? And you may want to go and take a look at the chart, the prices. Okay, somebody is selling for 100 million euros or pound sterling. Another is selling for 40 million. Football has commoditized human beings. Okay, but the point I'm basically saying is that even though they are all human beings, they are not the same. All right, with the same legs, with the same body, somebody gets about 100 million pounds sterling, and another goes for say 30 million pounds sterling. All right, because no two persons are actually the same. So you can build these things actually in the workforce or the employees of your company. Better still, the way to sustain it is to build it within groups or teams in the organization. Because also having the competencies in just one person is also dangerous, because your competitors can actually pay the person a lot of money. I think in media houses, they call it poaching, right? They can pay the person well, give him accommodation, give him cash for him to leave your organization to the other. All right. So for companies that know about this, they actually build their strengths within teams, so that if even one person leaves, that advantage and that edge will not go with that person alone. All right. Those who don't know about this will build it around just one person. And here too, football comes to mind. Okay. There are teams that struggle a lot when their star player leaves, because the entire team or club was built around just that particular player. All right. Barcelona and Messi, have they recovered? Have they come to their winning form?
They are better off than before.
Okay. But there was a struggle when Messi left, right?
Sure.
So you don't build your game plan just around one person. So first and foremost, yes, we must establish that these attributes can be found in people, but to make it better, let it be found in teams or groups and not just in individuals. So that if one person decides to leave, the company can still perform better or well without the presence of that particular person. Okay. Yes. So once again, at the personal level, you want to pay attention to this and see how best you can develop yourself to be able to meet these qualities. Okay. Currently, are you valuable to your company? Are you rare? Is it difficult to duplicate you perfectly? If they say that when you don't come to work, somebody can easily do whatever you've been doing, or they can fire you today and get a replacement tomorrow. What it means is that you've not developed yourself enough. You have to grow to the point where you are rare. And even though they may find somebody, the competencies of the person shouldn't match up with what you have. Okay. And it comes through what you're currently doing, pursuing education, personal development and growth, and so on and so forth. So you become very relevant in your industry. Okay. The last theory, known as contingency theory, basically argues from both points. So it combines both IO theory as well as resource-based theory. Right? It contends that the most successful businesses create advantages. It contends that the most successful businesses create advantages matches with their environment. It sees organizational performance as the result of both external forces and internal corporate strategic decisions. All right. So unlike IO that pays attention to external environments, or resource view that looks at the internal environment, with contingency theory, and that is the most realistic one, a manager must pay attention to both the external environment and your internal environment. You need to be able to match these things up in order to be able to take advantage of the business or the industry within which you operate. Okay. Let's move on. So this diagram basically is the explanation of what we've just discussed. So the IO, the primary focus of that is the structure of the industry. It argues that whatever happens in your industry can influence your operations, okay? And hence the perspective of managers is to pay attention to the external environment. Resource-based view says your success is based on the combination of your internal strategic resources. Hence, pay attention to your internal strengths and weaknesses. Contingency says you need a fit between the firm and its external environment. And so you need to make sure that there is a match between your strengths and weaknesses, as well as your opportunities and threats in the external environment. All right. So we have some benefits of strategic management. First, we have the financial benefits. So organizations that employ strategic management could experience greater success and profitability. Why? From our discussion so far, why do you think that if you engage in strategic management, you could experience greater success and profitability? We have 4 minutes more to go. Which of our discussions so far will help us explain this point? In fact, if we just even picked it from the last point, okay? Yeah, the proper understanding of your environment, knowing your resources and riding on those resources to be able to take advantage will help you to be successful as well as being profitable. Okay, our discussions on competitive strategy will help you to be able to achieve this as well. All right. Second point, exhibit notable improvement in sales, profitability, and productivity. Right? So the concept of continuous improvement and the whole of strategic management can help in this direction. High-performing businesses make better informed choices that are well aware of both the short and long-term effects. So strategic management helps you to pay attention to both long-term and short-term. We said it has long-term orientation, but it is based on what is happening in the past and what is happening today. High-performing businesses prepare for future changes in their internal and external surroundings. And strategy helps you to be able to do all that. Non-financial benefits. It leads to higher awareness of external threats, because the emphasis, as we've seen today, is all about your understanding of your environment. And part of the environment is the external environment. You get to know the external threats through proper understanding of strategic management. The next point comes from there as well. Better comprehension of rival strategies. Your rivals are also in the external environment. So once you pay attention to your external environment, you'll be able to know the strategies of your competitors or rivals. All right. Increase employee productivity. We spoke about motivation when we got to strategy implementation. We spoke about linking compensation to employee productivity. All of those things can lead to increase employee productivity. Decrease resistance to change. When we're talking about strategic planning, we got to a point. I think it was the name again. He's off. He spoke about the fact that when it gets to the implementation, there is normally some communication that goes on. In fact, and I was emphasizing that right from the development or formulation stage, there is the need for communication. You get everybody involved, all right? And that will help in leading to reducing the resistance to change. Also, when we go to strategic change, we saw that you needed to establish some change network, people that will help, okay, in bringing about those changes. That network can also help to reduce resistance to change. It provides clearer knowledge of performance reward links. That is another advantage. So it will clearly, and it's coming from the point that I just mentioned, the fact that you need to connect compensation to employee performance so that your performance or your rewards will not be based on whom you know, but the actual, your contribution towards the attainment of the strategic objectives of an organization. And lastly, it will improve our ability to prevent problems. And here I'm referring to the organization that embarks upon strategic management, okay? It can help them to prevent problems. Why? Because you get to understand what is happening in your environment, both the external environment and the internal environment. So things don't take you by surprise, all right? You actually prepare and deal with problems before they become big issues. Okay. On this note, any questions? Otherwise, I think we have come to the end of our lecture for today.